I thought it should be very clear and very precise, as clean as possible anyway, you know. And more or less to the people, you know, something they could understand, something that was beautiful, you know. Music is basically melody, harmony, and rhythm. But, I mean, people can do much more with music than that. It can be very descriptive in all kinds of ways, you know. I was right.
Charlie Parker talking to Paul Desmond in March 1954. Hello, I'm Eamonn Linehan. Welcome to Sunday's Jazz Alley. During the 1940s, many musicians played an important role in the evolution of jazz. Charlie Christian, Bud Powell, Coleman Hawkins, Thelonious Monk, Dizzy Gillespie. The major figure had left school at the age of 14, saxophonist Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker, now's the time. Kansas boy Parker travelled to New York City in 1939. During daylight hours, he washed dishes. The night time was devoted to watching Art Tatum play the piano. Like Tatum, Parker possessed an astonishing technique. Early recordings with Jay McShann merely hinted at this, but don't take my word for it. Here's Parker with Jay McShann, the year 1942. Jay McShann with a young Charlie Parker, Sepia and Bounce. That's taken from a brand new double CD, yet another Parker reissue, The Genius of Charlie Parker. And thanks to Universal Ireland, we have a number of copies of the double CD to give away. What was Charlie Parker's nickname? Charlie Parker with Miles Davis, Duke Jordan, Tommy Potter and Max Roach, Embraceable You. To recap, if you know Mr. Parker's nickname, simply drop us a line at Jazz Alley. We have a number of copies of the latest Parker reissue to give away, 2005 release, The Genius of Charlie Parker, recordings dating from 1942 to 1953, 33 selections, including these two with strings. Didn't matter how syrupy the strings or indeed how clueless jazz rhythm sections were, Charlie Parker ploughed his own furrow. You just heard Parker's readings of two standards, Just Friends and then Stella by Starlight. Here's Parker with Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, Curly Russell and Buddy Rich. Charlie Parker, My Melancholy Baby. How best describe Charlie Parker? Okay, here goes. Balancing on a high wire, blindfolded on a unicycle, pedalling backwards whilst juggling. That gives you some idea of the man's talents. With Parker, you weren't supposed to merely enjoy the music. He expected you to listen, and Parker wasn't just technically gifted. He improvised many memorable phrases and wrote numerous lasting compositions. I suppose he was a lone wolf who confronted the ignorance and prejudice of critics and audiences alike. His efforts were met with indifference or downright hostility, misunderstood, vilified. Sometimes he was even dismissed as a fool. Raised in Kansas, Charlie Parker was exposed to the music of Count Basie and in particular Lester Young during his childhood years. And like Lester Young, recognition came late. In Parker's case, not until after his death at 34. The toll of drug and alcohol dependency had prompted the coroner who examined him to estimate his age at 60 years. You could say that Parker, though venerated by those who performed with him, was too intense and disturbing to be popular with every man and woman in the street. They seemed to be more interested in how he conducted his private life. Parker himself was aware that drugs were destroying him. He never recommended heroin to others. However, impressionable youngsters didn't require encouragement. Here's Red Rodney's assessment, so typical of greenhorn jazz musicians. Would I nearly be so great if I entered into that world? From 1951, Charlie Parker with Red Rodney trumpet, Blues for Alice. Welcome to Sunday's Jazz Alley on RTE Lyric FM. Tonight we're remembering the short life and times of Charlie Parker, more than 50 years after his death. Parker, My Little Suede Shoes. Parker was driven to improvise. In fact, if you listen to some alternate takes, you realise how... tune derived from the I Got Rhythm chord changes, Cool Blues. Errol Garner played piano. A couple of other pianists helped Charlie Parker's career along. We already mentioned Jay McShann. Well, late in 1942, Parker was hired by Earl Hines, and that's where he befriended Dizzy Gillespie. And when he joined Billy Eckstine's band, he met up with Diz again. In fact, Parker and Diz took part in after-hour jams, especially at Minton's.
We used to go around different places and jam together. We had quite a bit of fun in those days. And in 42, Dizzy was in New York. He formed his own little combination in the Three Deuces, New York City. And I joined his band there. That's when these records you're about to play now, we made these in 42 in New York.
Dizzy cut out, but no, indeed. Here comes the professor of rebop now with his whole class of cats. Hey, Dizzy, come here, man. Dizzy, come on. What are you going to play for the customers now?
Dizzy Atmosphere.
Oh, it is that.
Atmosphere, the Dizzy Gillespie Sextet captured on a live radio broadcast. MC, by the way, one Ernie Bubbles Whitman. Before that, Gillespie's All-Star Quintet, Parker, alto sax, and Al Haig piano, and a tune called Hot House. 1949 and 1951, Charlie Parker embarked on European tours. He visited France and Scandinavia. There was a marked improvement in the tone of his saxophone, which we could attribute to the influence of Sidney Bechet. Charlie Parker with strings, banal stretches relieved by a soaring alto, melody by Rodgers and Hart. I didn't know what time it was. That Charlie Parker's music still sounds fresh today says much about the level of creativity of those jazz musicians who followed him. In 1960, pianist Lenny Tristano said, "If Parker had wanted to invoke plagiarism laws, he could have sued almost everybody who's made a record in the last 10 years. His disciples have included saxophone players, of course, not least John Coltrane, Sonny Rollins and Phil Woods, but Bird's shadow has cast over generations of musicians." On Charlie Parker's first date as band leader in March 1946, Lucky Thompson, tenor saxophone, Dodo Marmarosa, piano, and a diffident Miles Davis on trumpet, Night in Tunisia. As band leader, Charlie Parker recorded for Savoy, Dial and Verve. December 1945, Gillespie and Parker headed for California. While they were there, they featured in Jazz at the Philharmonic, of which more anon. Soon afterwards, Gillespie headed back east. Parker, however, remained. 1946 was the year, and drugs were fairly hard to come by on the West Coast, so he was drinking $1 a gallon port, apparently. And that summer, not surprisingly, Parker had his first nervous breakdown. He was hospitalized for 6 months. July 1951, Charlie Parker's New York cabaret card was revoked, and aware how increasingly unreliable he'd become, he attempted suicide twice in 1954, and then in March 1955, during his very final gig in a venue named in his honour, Birdland, Bud Powell and Charles Mingus actually walked off stage and discussed. You just heard Ornithology, derived from the same chord sequence as How High the Moon. For our final selection, we're returning to the latest Parker reissue, a double CD released. Jazz listeners who'd like to be in with a chance of winning the double CD should incidentally write to us at RTE Lyric FM, Cornmarket Square, Limerick. That's Jazz Alley RTE Lyric FM, Cornmarket Square, Limerick. Or you can email us, jazz.lyricfm@rte.ie. The question again was, what's Charlie Parker's nickname? And yes, we'll accept 2 answers. And the song is How High the Moon.
Fitzgerald and the rest of the band combined to do Jazz at the Philharmonic's theme song, How High the Moon. touch the stars? How high the moon does it reach up to Mars? But the words may be wrong to this song. We're asking high, 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 high is the moon.
Fitzgerald, Roy Eldridge, Lester Young, Hank Jones, Buddy Rich, Ray Brown, Tommy Turk, Flick Phillips and Charlie Parker live at Carnegie Hall in September 1949. That's all from Jazz Alley for now. Next Sunday at 7 we remember jazz in film. All the best in the meantime. In a moment on RTE Lyric FM, Bernard Clark with Soundings.